If you are listening to this message right now, it is not by accident. Something deep within you already knows that your life is shifting in ways you did not plan, expect, or fully understand. What once felt stable is changing. What once felt familiar may now feel distant. And while part of you may be confused, another part of you feels an unexplainable pull towards something greater. This message is for you. You have been wondering why doors are closing without explanation, why certain people are fading out of your life, and why your plans no longer unfold the way they used to. You may have asked yourself if you made a mistake, if you waited too long, or if you somehow missed your moment. But hear this clearly. God is not dismantling your life to harm you. He is reorganizing it to elevate you. What feels like disruption is divine adjustment. What feels like delay is divine protection. And what feels like loss is often God removing what cannot follow you into the next season. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. There are moments when God works quietly, behind the scenes, rearranging relationships, priorities, opportunities, and even desires. He does this not because he is distant, but because he is intentional. When God reorganizes a life, he does it unexpectedly, so that no one else can take credit for what he is about to do through you. Before we go any further, pause for a moment and respond in faith. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment the words, "I trust God's process." This simple action is more than engagement. It is a declaration that you are aligned with what God is doing in your life right now. Stay with this message until the end, because what you are about to hear will bring clarity, peace, and confirmation. God is not finished with you. In fact, he is just getting started. 1. Recognition of disruption. Lately, you may feel as though your life no longer follows the map you once trusted. Things that used to make sense now feel uncertain. Plans you carefully built are shifting, dissolving, or losing their importance. This is not coincidence. This is the moment where many chosen ones begin to question themselves, because disruption often feels personal when it is actually purposeful. You may have noticed that your motivation has changed. What once excited you no longer holds the same power. Conversations feel shallow. Environments that once felt like home now feel restrictive. Even your own thoughts may feel unfamiliar, as if you are outgrowing versions of yourself faster than you can explain to others. This inner tension is not confusion. It is awareness expanding. There may also be external disruptions. Relationships drifting apart without clear conflict. Opportunities ending suddenly. Financial patterns changing. Timelines stretching longer than expected. You may be doing everything right and still feel as though progress has slowed. This is often the hardest stage, because the mind looks for logical explanations, while the spirit understands that something deeper is unfolding. God often begins reorganization by removing stability from places where we became too comfortable. Not to punish you, but to prevent stagnation. Comfort can quietly turn into limitation. When something no longer aligns with your calling, it will begin to feel heavy, inconvenient, or draining. That discomfort is not meant to break you, it is meant to move you. You might feel misunderstood during this season. Others may not see why you are changing or why certain things no longer fit. Some may question your decisions, your pace, or your silence. But understand this, when God starts rearranging your life, he does not ask for public approval. He works according to divine alignment, not social agreement. It is also common to feel moments of grief, not because something bad happened, but because something familiar is ending. You are allowed to acknowledge that loss without guilt. Growth often requires letting go of identities, dreams, or expectations that once served you, but can no longer carry the weight of who you are becoming. If you are experiencing disruption on multiple levels, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, this is a strong indication that God is not making small adjustments. He is restructuring. And restructuring always looks messy before it looks meaningful. What you are feeling is the evidence that you are in transition, not failure. This stage is not meant to be rushed. Recognition comes before understanding. Right now, your role is not to have all the answers, but to remain open, grounded, and willing. God is already working ahead of you, even if you cannot yet see how everything will fit together. 2. Why chaos precedes divine order. There is a reason chaos often appears just before breakthrough, and it is not because God has lost control. It is because true order cannot be built on foundations that no longer match your destiny. When God prepares to elevate someone, He first exposes what is unstable, outdated, or misaligned. What feels like disorder is often the unveiling of what was already fragile beneath the surface. In nature, nothing new is created without a period of breakdown. A seed must first be buried, pressed into darkness, and broken open before life can emerge. In the same way, God allows seasons where your life feels turned upside down so that something greater can grow. Order that comes from God is not cosmetic, it is structural, and structural change requires dismantling. Chaos is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of control. It forces you to confront the truth that what once worked cannot take you where you are going next. Many people pray for change, but few are prepared for the disruption that change requires. Divine order is not simply about improvement. It is about alignment, and alignment often demands separation from what is familiar. When God reorganizes a life, He does not always explain Himself immediately. Silence does not mean absence. It means trust is being built. In these moments, faith is no longer based on outcomes, but on relationship. You are learning to rely not on predictability, but on divine guidance. This is where spiritual maturity is formed. Chaos also reveals where your identity has been anchored. When titles, roles, relationships, or routines are shaken, what remains is who you truly are. God allows shaking so that nothing false can remain attached to your purpose. Anything that collapses during this season was not meant to be permanent in the next one. Scripture often reflects this pattern. Before creation, there was formlessness. Before deliverance, there was bondage. Before resurrection, there was death. God specializes in bringing order out of what appears unmanageable. He does not fear chaos. He uses it. What overwhelms you does not overwhelm Him. It is important to understand that divine chaos is not random. It is precise. Doors close to redirect you. Delays protect you from premature exposure. Detachment frees you from dependencies that would later limit you. Even confusion has a purpose. It slows you down long enough to listen more deeply. Many people try to escape this phase too quickly. They rush to replace what was lost, to recreate old patterns, or to force clarity before the time is right. But divine order cannot be rushed. If you rebuild too soon, you risk recreating the same structure God is trying to dismantle. This season is asking for surrender, not struggle. Trust, not control. Stillness, not panic. God is not asking you to understand everything. He is asking you to stay available. The order He is establishing will be stronger, cleaner, and more sustainable than anything you could have designed on your own. What feels chaotic now will soon make sense. When the reorganization is complete, you will look back and realize that nothing was wasted. Every disruption was a necessary step toward a life that finally reflects who you were always meant to become. 3. Signs. God is reorganizing your life. When God begins to reorganize your life, He often leaves clear signs, not to confuse you, but to reassure you. These signs may not always be dramatic, yet they are consistent, personal, and deeply transformative. Recognizing them can bring peace in the middle of uncertainty and help you trust what God is doing behind the scenes. One of the first signs is a quiet loss of interest in what once defined you. Goals you chased passionately may suddenly feel empty. Activities that once energized you now feel draining. This does not mean you have failed or grown lazy. It means your spirit is no longer satisfied with what no longer aligns. God often removes desire before He removes circumstances, preparing. you internally before anything changes externally. Another sign is unexpected separation. People may exit your life without conflict or explanation. Conversations fade. Connections loosen. This can be painful, especially when there is no clear reason. But not everyone is meant to travel with you into every season. God sometimes removes people gently so that you are not distracted, delayed, or emotionally tied to what cannot support your next level. You may also notice delays that make no logical sense. Opportunities stall. Answers take longer. Progress slows despite effort. These delays are not denials. They are protection. God sees what you cannot. What feels like stagnation is often timing being perfected. If things moved faster, you might arrive unprepared, exposed, or misaligned. Another powerful sign is internal change that happens without external validation. Your values shift. Your tolerance for chaos, drama, or compromise decreases. You begin to crave peace more than approval. Solitude feels necessary rather than lonely. This inner refinement is evidence that God is strengthening your discernment and realigning your priorities. Rest can also appear in unexpected ways. Even when circumstances are unstable, you may feel an unusual calm. This peace does not come from answers. It comes from alignment. When your spirit recognizes that God is in control, anxiety loses its grip. This peace is not passive. It is protective. You may also find that certain doors close repeatedly, no matter how much effort you apply. This repetition is intentional. God closes doors not to frustrate you, but to prevent you from settling for what is good when something greater is ahead. Rejection in this context is redirection. Another sign is heightened sensitivity to what is out of alignment. Your conscience becomes sharper, your intuition stronger. What you once ignored now feels heavy. This awareness is not meant to burden you, it is meant to guide you. God is teaching you to recognize what belongs in your life and what no longer does. You might also experience moments of isolation, not because you are abandoned, but because God is speaking more clearly in quiet spaces. Isolation refines focus. It removes noise. It allows healing and preparation that cannot happen in crowded environments. This season is not about hiding. It is about strengthening. Finally, there is a growing sense that something new is coming, even if you cannot name it yet. This expectation is subtle but persistent. It keeps you hopeful without clarity. This is faith being developed, not based on evidence, but on trust. These signs are not meant to overwhelm you. They are confirmations. God is not dismantling your life without purpose. He is reorganizing it with precision, care, and intention. What He is building will last longer and serve you better than anything you are leaving behind. 4. How to respond correctly. When God is reorganizing your life, your response matters just as much as the process itself. This season is not only about what God is changing around you, but about what He is forming within you. How you respond will determine how smoothly you transition into what comes next. The first and most important response is surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing the need to control outcomes. Many delays become painful only because we resist them. When you stop fighting what is ending, you create space for what is being born. Trust grows when you allow God to lead, even when the path is unclear. Next, choose stillness over panic. Chaos often triggers urgency, but urgency can push you into premature decisions. Stillness allows clarity to surface. It creates room for discernment. In moments of uncertainty, slowing down is not weakness. It is wisdom. God often speaks most clearly when you are quiet enough to listen. Another crucial response is obedience in small things. You may not see the full picture, but you will often feel gentle prompts, small changes in behavior, habits, or priorities. Honoring these small instructions builds alignment. Breakthrough rarely comes from one dramatic act. It comes from consistent faithfulness in unseen moments. Guard your words carefully during this season. What you speak can either reinforce fear or strengthen faith. Avoid declaring failure over a process that is still unfolding. Speak life, even when circumstances look unfinished. Words shape perspective, and perspective shapes endurance. Patience is also essential. Divine timing rarely matches human expectations. Trying to rush what God is refining can delay the very thing you desire. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is continuing to show up, to grow, and to remain faithful even when progress feels slow. Another important response is letting go without resentment. Release people, roles, and outcomes with grace. Bitterness creates emotional weight that can slow spiritual movement. Forgiveness, especially when things end without closure, keeps your heart light and open. Stay rooted in truth rather than emotion. Feelings may fluctuate daily, but God's purpose remains steady. When emotions rise, anchor yourself in prayer, reflection, and reminders of past faithfulness. Remember moments when things worked out in ways you could not have predicted. Those memories are proof that God has not failed you before. Finally, remain available. God often brings new opportunities quietly. If you are too focused on what you lost, you may miss what is approaching. Availability is a posture of openness, willing to move, to learn, and to grow when the moment arrives. This season is shaping you, not sidelining you. By responding with surrender, patience, and faith, you align yourself with the order God is establishing. What comes next will require the version of you that is being formed right now. 5. Warnings and encouragement. As God reorganizes your life, it is important to remain aware of certain pitfalls that can quietly slow the process. These warnings are not meant to instill fear, but to protect what God is building within you. Every season of transition carries both opportunity and temptation, and discernment is essential. One of the greatest dangers during this time is returning to what God has already removed. Familiarity can feel safer than uncertainty, even when it no longer serves you. When discomfort arises, the mind may romanticize the past and forget why certain doors closed. Going back may provide temporary relief, but it often delays long-term fulfillment. Trust that what ended did so for a reason. Another warning is comparison. Watching others appear to move forward while you feel paused can breed doubt and impatience. But your timeline is not a reflection of your worth. God's work in your life is specific and intentional. What looks like delay may be preparation at a depth others have not yet reached. Avoid measuring your journey against someone else's highlights. Be cautious of voices that push urgency without discernment. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Not every open door is from God. In seasons of reorganization, clarity matters more than speed. Acting too quickly can reconnect you to patterns God is trying to break. Peace, not pressure, is often the sign of alignment. There is also the temptation to interpret silence as abandonment. When answers do not come quickly, doubt may whisper that you are alone or forgotten. This is not true. Some of God's deepest work happens in quiet seasons. Silence is not the absence of activity, it is the absence of noise. Now, hear this encouragement clearly. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. You are not being overlooked. The fact that your life is being reorganized means God sees value worth refining. He does not invest this level of attention in what has no future. Encouragement also comes in knowing that what is ahead will fit you better than what you are leaving. The new structure God is creating will support your growth rather than restrict it. The relationships, opportunities, and purpose being prepared will align with the person you are becoming, not the version you have outgrown. Strength is being developed in you right now. Endurance, discernment, humility. These qualities will serve you long after this season ends. You are being equipped, not delayed. When doubts arise, return to this truth. God finishes what He starts. He is not experimenting with your life. He is intentional, precise, and faithful. Hold on. Stay grounded. What feels uncertain now will soon become evidence of divine order. 6. Strength, identity, and trust. During reorganization. During seasons of divine reorganization, one of the most important shifts happens internally. God is not only changing circumstances around you, He is reshaping how you see yourself. This process can feel unsettling because identity is being refined. Old labels may no longer fit. Roles you once relied on may dissolve. But this is not loss. It is clarification. You may notice that you no longer tolerate what you once accepted. Situations that required constant self-betrayal now feel unbearable. This is a sign of strengthening, not sensitivity. God is building spiritual boundaries that protect your peace and preserve your purpose. What once drained you now reveals itself clearly, and that clarity is a gift. Trust is also being redefined in this season. You are learning to trust God without needing constant reassurance. Faith is moving from emotional dependence to quiet confidence. Even when answers are delayed, something within you remains steady. This is not because everything is easy, but because your foundation is deepening. Another transformation taking place is resilience. You may be handling pressures now that would have overwhelmed you in the past. This growth often goes unnoticed because it happens gradually. But endurance is being built. You are becoming someone who can carry greater responsibility, influence, and blessing without losing balance. God also uses this season to realign your expectations. Some prayers were not answered the way you imagined because what you asked for was too small. Other requests were delayed because timing mattered more than desire. What God is preparing will exceed what you would have settled for earlier. There may be moments when you question whether you are doing enough. Remember this: productivity is not the same as progress. Rest, reflection, and waiting are not signs of laziness when they are directed by God. Some breakthroughs happen not through effort, but through surrender. This is also a season to strengthen your spiritual awareness. Pay attention to what brings peace and what creates resistance. God often guides through inner confirmation rather than external noise. The more you listen, the clearer direction becomes. You are not being shaped for survival. You are being shaped for stewardship. What is coming will require wisdom, humility, and self-awareness. God prepares people before He positions them. What feels like hidden work now will soon become visible fruit. Do not underestimate this season simply because it looks quiet. Roots grow in silence. Foundations are laid underground. What God is building within you will support everything He plans to place upon you. Stay committed. Stay open. Stay faithful. This reorganization is not an interruption. It is an investment. And when the season shifts, you will recognize that you emerged stronger, clearer, and more aligned than ever before. As this message comes to a close, it is important for you to hear this clearly and without doubt. You are safe in this process. Even if your circumstances still feel uncertain, God's hand has never left your life. What you are experiencing is not the collapse of your future, but the clearing of space for it. Reorganization always feels uncomfortable while it is happening, but it leads to stability that cannot be shaken. You may not yet see how all the pieces will come together, and that is okay. Faith does not require full visibility. It requires trust in the one who sees beyond what you can. Every closed door, every delay, every internal shift has been working together in ways you will soon understand. Nothing has been random. Nothing has been wasted. Remember that God does not reorganize a life without purpose. He is intentional with timing, precise with placement, and gentle with those who are willing to trust Him. What is ahead of you will not require you to shrink, struggle, or betray who you are becoming. It will meet you where you are prepared, healed, and aligned. If this message resonated with you, take a moment now to respond. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be going through a similar season. And in the comments, write these words as a declaration of faith. I accept God's order for my life. Saying it matters. Declaring it matters. Carry this truth with you after this video ends. You are not late, you are not lost, and you are not forgotten. You are in transition. And transition, when guided by God, always leads to transformation. Stay patient. Stay grounded. Stay open. What God is building in your life right now will soon make sense. And when it does, you will be grateful you trusted the process.